Hello and welcome to Sinner to Winner podcast. This is episode 8. Today we are joined by Baby Yaga, aka Tash. Tash, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. A lot of people will know who you are tuning in, but for those that don't, can you give us a little intro?
Yes, hi. Like Jazz said, I am Baby Yaga. That is my stage name. I am first and foremost a pole dancer. I'm a pole dance instructor, and I currently work at a residential detox sober living treatment facility called Red Door with you. And my current role there is being a sober companion. And I also do instruct pole dancing there as well for some of the clients to help them with body positivity and awareness and disassociation and all the side effects that come from long-term drug use.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, again, thanks for coming on, Tash. And there's so much we can get into there. Today's video is going to be titled From OnlyFans to Saving Lives. So people's already clicked on, they're like, okay, what's all this about?
Yeah.
And so obviously, most of us that work in this kind of industry and work with people who have mental health issues, disabilities, etc., we've usually got our own stuff. We can me to it. We can say, "Hey, I've been where you've been. I know the way out. Follow me." That's kind of like the simple version of explaining it. So let's. I think we want to help people today. And I think the best way we do that is by telling our story and getting into it. So, where do you want to start? When did you, what was it like growing up? When did you realize you were different? When did you find that you were making, say, decisions that you wouldn't do today to have like a healthy life?
Well, to just answer just the last question that you asked, I think 15 is when I started making some of those decisions that have definitely led me to where I was today. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I am like multicultural, I'm multilingual, Russia, Israel, America. Um, kind of came from a very dysfunctional family. Dad left, single mom that was an immigrant raised me. I'm a first generation American. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm a first generation immigrant because I wasn't born in the United States, but I am very Americanized. So it was definitely difficult to grow up with an immigrant mom who had these like very strict Slavic ways of thinking, and also her naivety about addiction and drugs and alcohol, and Russian culture. We all drank, so that was okay. Alcohol was always okay in the household. Alcohol had been okay, and I had my first shot, I think, when I was like 12. I didn't even get in trouble for that at all or anything. It was just given to me at the table. But yeah, just dysfunctional home. And then started doing really hard drugs when I was a teenager.
How old were
Need
you when you came from Russia to America?
What was I what?
How old were you when
Oh,
you
I
came from
was
Russia to America?
so so actually it was from Russia to Israel. So I was born in Russia and then I stayed there for like a year or two and then Israel for like 4 years. So I was around 6 years old when I arrived in Los Angeles. And then I spent like my teenage years growing up in pretty much all around San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles, California, up until the age of 18 when I moved back to Israel. And I did the military, which was like my second rehab because I needed
Oh,
to get
before
out.
Tash, before we get into the military, because I want to get there, but I think I interrupted you just before you were going to tell us that you were 15 years old.
Yeah.
That's when these kind of decisions were coming in that were unhealthy and say some of this maybe addict behavior or looking to escape. You didn't have your dad in your life. You're Israeli, Russian, American. You've got a mother or you've got an environment that's a little dysfunctional. So what was going on at 15 for you just then to pinpoint it?
So yeah, at 15, I mean, literally, I mean, I'm starting high school. I'm starting high school and I went to Calabasas High. I think people, even who don't live in California or United States, have heard about Calabasas. I mean, it's where the Kardashians are from. right? So I went to this like super, super wealthy school and it was really hard to fit in. I was not a rich kid by any means. And my mom was working 3 jobs. So there was no one at home, absolutely nobody. And then when there was somebody at home, there was just always like my mom had all these different boyfriends. And I mean, God bless my mom. I know that she needed companionship as well, but there was never like, I felt like all the attention was not given to me. It was instead given to a boyfriend, and then she would just never be home because she'd be working. So at 15, I had a lot of free time on my hands. All my extracurricular activities got cut because we were broke. And it was a slippery slope. I met an older guy. I was like 15, he was 21. I was enamored. I was like, thought that I was the shit. Here's some guy who can buy me alcohol, can get me weed, can get me all the drugs that I want, and is paying attention to me and is just makes me feel like I'm part of something. And ditching school just became so easy when nobody's checking in on you. So, and then all the rich kids that have all this money whose parents also aren't paying attention to them and just throw money at them, and they can get access to all the pills in their cabinets and can also buy money with drugs. I mean, it's not only impoverished or like, these bad public schools and like ghetto or like bad places in the neighborhood where kids do drugs. Kids are doing drugs everywhere. I would even say that the rich kids are doing them the most because they can afford a lot. So yeah, it was just a recipe for disaster. There was just really no other way it could have gone, I think. And then you're asking, there was one catalyst that actually, the same week that my mom, I ended up getting caught drinking. And she did decide to get mad at me this time, and she cut off all my hair a week before I go into high school. So I go from I'm a 13, 14-year-old girl who's already so self-conscious, and I go from my hair length to this to literally all the way to here, and I have to go to school like that. So all of my self-confidence and everything just went down the drain. Um, so yeah, I just kind of, and I was introduced to meth literally that week, and I was like, fuck it. But why the fuck not? Like, I hate myself. So yeah.
That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. That's yeah, that's a lot. Was so you mentioned you went to the military at 18. So that's a heck of a, you went to the Israeli military. So you've got this little girl who's struggling and trying to fit in, and then she makes this decision to go to the Israeli military. Can you fill in the blank there for us? That's a hell of
Yeah.
a blank.
Yeah. And everybody that I told at the time was like, you're insane. And nobody believed me. And everyone thought I was crazy. And I did it, which is me. That is me. I've literally always gone like against the grain. But because I lived there when I was a kid, I had citizenship. So I was drafted technically. So no matter how many times you move, they'll find you. So they sent the draft letter to the mail when I turned 18. And at that point, I had finished a year of rehab, a year of probation, just graduated high school. Like I was in like recovery ish. I did eventually start smoking weed again, but I wasn't using hard drugs. So I was like, well, at least I'm smoking weed. But I get the draft letter in the mail at 18. And during that period of time, I was not going to college. I just began managing a dispensary, and I started driving drunk, started doing cocaine, started doing pills. I was doing everything like but meth, which was like my drug of choice at the time. And I thought that I was doing okay. And then I get this draft letter in the mail, and I'm just like, if I don't get the fuck out of here, excuse me, can I curse on this? If I don't get out of here, if I don't get out of the valley, if I don't get out of this 818 area code, I'm going to end up pregnant by some loser. I'm going to end up in prison, or honestly, I'm going to end up dead or like with a DUI because I freaking killed someone or myself. Like I just knew that I had to get out of the country. I had to remove myself from the situation entirely. And it just seemed like a Hail Mary. It just seemed like, like what they say in AA. It was a God shot. That was my God shot.
Wow. Yeah, that's an amazing self-awareness. Like, obviously, and I know this from my own experience, no matter what's going on, we always kind of, I don't know why I'm pointing here, but maybe it's the heart or something. We always know what we should do, or we get this feeling, we get this inkling. I've got stuff going on in my life right now, and I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. I know people might not understand it, but I know I've got to go do it. I feel like that's my purpose. We get these feelings, don't we? That we're spiritual beings at the end of the day, having this human experience, and you knew to keep yourself safe, you were going to go to the Israeli military. How long were you there for, and what did you take from it, and how did it help?
Yeah, and to add on to what you said, I did not speak Hebrew at the time anymore. So not only was and I was not, and this surprises a lot of people, I'm not like technically Jewish either. And I did not grow up celebrating Jewish traditions. So it really was this like, I mean, I knew that I had always loved Israel and I had had a good time there as a kid, and like those were my childhood years. But like I literally went into that like so blindly. Like I'm like I just it was just like a gut feeling. Like you said, I was like I have to do this. I don't care that I don't know the language. I'll figure it out. I was like I just have to go. And I forgot your question. What was it? It's just like what.
So, yeah, I was going to say, so how long did it last while you were
Oh,
there, and how did it help? What did you take from it?
so, okay, so I went there, and as a female, I was only required to do 2 years, but I decided to do three. My first year in the army, I was a foreign liaison, which, because I spoke English and Russian, I was on the border of Egypt and Israel, and I helped other armies from other countries pass through the border, and I would just stamp them. So I was just an office worker. And, that wasn't exciting to me. I was like, I'm 18, I'm impressionable. I want to be where the action is. I'm like, I want a gun. Like, so I was like, I'm going to sign up for the combat unit. So I signed an extra year. So I did 3 years in total. And then that was when I did something. It's a unit called Caracal, which is like a desert cat. If you've ever seen it, they're super cute. They like have these like little spikes at the top. But that was a co-ed combat unit. And I again was on the border of Egypt and Israel, and it was more like border patrol and preventing illegal immigration and drugs. So kind of like a DEA-ish. It sounds a lot cooler than it was, but I did that for 3 years, and then I stayed in Israel. I think I want to say another 2.5, 3 years after that. I went back to Russia and got my esthetician license. Random. I like literally have all these random licenses. Esthetician license. Then went back to Israel, did a year of college because that's all the army could pay for was just a year of college. At this point, like I have no income from my family. Like there's like my mom, like I'm doing this all on my own. I'm in Israel by myself. No, nobody's sending me money. I'm trying to get by. I get out of the army, and they do not, and I know about this for the American military and for other militaries. There's not like a very good like a cushion for when you get out. Like you go from being a number, you're a number, you're told what to do, you're told when to shit, you're told when to sleep, you're told when to eat, you're told when to breathe. Like everything is decided for you. So to get out of that structure, which I thrived in, to get out of that, to then be like, shit, what am I supposed to do now? Like I just spent, at 21, my American friends are getting drunk and going to the club. At 21, I spent it on like on guard duty, you know? So I get out and I'm very confused and I don't know what I'm doing. And I decided, okay, I'll jump right back into school. I did a year of school. I studied psychology, and I mean, I kind of had like a bit of a mental breakdown because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the lack of support. I couldn't handle being in a foreign country where, yes, I had learned the language by that point, but you know, I started finding the drugs, started partying a lot more. And then I discovered pole dancing randomly in Israel because I got out of the army and I needed to exercise. And I didn't want to go to the gym. So I started doing pole dancing and I fell in love with that. And I left college and decided to pursue that. And then I honestly just couldn't make it. I was homeless for a few months. And I started getting more into the sex work world. and the OnlyFans. And I moved back to LA after completing a year of college, realizing I want to be a dancer, realizing I don't really know what I want to do, but at least I want to be a dancer. But I'm now homeless in a country where I have no support. The army gave me all the money, all the stipend money that it could give me for that year of college and no more, even though I gave them 3 years of my life. God bless. Um, and yeah, and I kind of came back to LA with my tail between my legs. Not gonna
So
lie.
Tash,
Yeah.
Tash. So the sex work started in Israel, Russia, or that kind of
So
doing the pole dancing.
in Israel, yeah. It started
It-
in Israel.
that's when it was like, okay, I'm homeless. I need to make a living. This person's giving me attention. This person can help me out. It starts probably like that. And then before you know it, it's like, okay, well, I can make a little bit of money doing this. So that seed got planted in Israel when you came out without a cushion from the army. There's something to be said for structure and discipline and community, right? You've got this community, you've got structure and discipline, there's no cushion. It's like, okay, go fend for yourself. You're a very capable person, you speak multiple languages, you're able to deal with people, you're able to deal with high intense situations, but without the community's been taken away. You've got no structure, no like with which brings the discipline. Um, and yeah, you're looking for your people again, and I understand it. One thing leads to another. So we're in America. You come back, and how old are you now in America? Like 22, 23, or 24?
I'm like 24. Yeah.
You're 24. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, let me know what happened next. This is an amazing story. Thanks so much for sharing it.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I'm like telling it to you now and I'm looking back and I'm just like I don't know how I made it really. I need to give myself a little bit more credit than I give myself a lot of the time. I get back to America and Mom, if you're watching this, I forgive you, but I do have to tell this part of the story. My
She didn't
mother,
cut your hair again, did she?
no, she opened up a bunch of credit cards under my name, and a lot of the things that she spent on those credit cards were for me. They were like plane tickets and things to spend on when I was home. But I am at 24, I'm still stupid. Okay. And I don't understand how a credit card works. I'm just dumb. I just didn't know anything. Right. So I'm out of the country. My mom is using these credit cards under my name. So I come back from Israel and I find out that I have a credit score of 450 in LA. And I mean, you can't get an apartment, you can't get like good luck getting like a freaking laptop with that money. Like you can't do shit with that credit score. And I was like I think $30,000 in debt or something from fees. Thankfully was able to find a good credit guy to help me with this, but that took a few years before I could fix it. But yeah, at that point, here I am. I don't have a full college degree. I do know how to dance pretty well with the pole. The pole is getting better. And I start applying for jobs and my freaking only experience is, hey, I was just in the IDF for 3 years. Like LA Fitness wouldn't even hire me. Like they were like, we don't care. Like that you know how to do this, and I was too like proud, or I don't know. I didn't want to go like work at Starbucks. I didn't want to go back to being a waitress. I didn't want to go do all those things. I had been doing those things in Israel. I was a maid. I was this, like I literally name a job and I had done it. And I didn't want to do that. So I started working. Like I said, I started not even working. I started doing a apprenticeship at a pole studio, and I started stripping. And then I was posting videos, like like sexy videos of me online dancing or like in a cute outfit. And OnlyFans was just starting to get popular. And I had a friend of mine who had been in the IDF with me, and she was making a lot of money on her OnlyFans. And every time I would post something, she'd be like, "Why are you posting this for free? You could literally be making money off of this. Like, don't like." you don't need to, like, this isn't free material. And she kind of got me thinking. She's like, okay, all right, well, she's right. And she's like, you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Like, you can just, just be topless, or you can make it art, you can do whatever you want. And I kind of was like, okay, well, if it's just that, like, all right, well, I don't care. I'm good with my body. I can do that. And started the OnlyFans. I started stripping, and just kind of really went full all into that world, and it made me a lot of money. It helped me pay off my debt and everything with the credit cards. um, it allowed me to get out of I was living with my mom. I was literally living with my mom in a one-bedroom apartment, sharing a bed with her. It got me out of that situation, which, like, at 24, 25 years, you don't want to be doing that. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun after you've just had all this freedom in another country with no parents. So I get myself out of these situations. Um, but, and I have all this free time. I'm like, because it doesn't really take that. I mean, it's work. It's a lot of work, but you make a lot of money, and then you can kind of chill for a couple weeks. So with all that free time that I had, I was not spending it wisely. I chose to get high instead. I was making money, I was adventuring, I was traveling, it was great. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so empowered and this is good. But my dating life was trash. Like, I could not, the only people that at that moment I could date were either people that wanted to pay me for my time, or people that were like photographers, like people in the adult industry. And those, even in that was hard to find. So, like, finding somebody that was a normie, they didn't, there's a stigma attached to sex work. So they didn't view me as a person to, they lusted after me. They didn't love me. So it was very hard to date. And I think I went, as long as I had an OnlyFans, I think I went like around at least 5 years without really being able to have like a very serious relationship with someone that, quite frankly, wasn't like a toxic person. Um, Not to say that people don't. There's plenty of couples that I know that are both in the industry and they're doing great. I just didn't find my match, and it was very hard for me to date, which sucks. That's like a huge part of life. So, yeah.
And something that's coming to me now, obviously, there's another part to this, from OnlyFans to saving lives, and we're going to talk about what you're doing today. But I think before we just leave this area, what would you, if you could, obviously you left that line of work, even though you were making lots of money and you were getting the validation through that kind of vehicle. What would you say to yourself, rather than, because obviously there's people who's probably watching this that are in that line of work, they're probably making money, they find themselves in these transactional relationships, in and out of in and out of the workplace, because it's just part of the industry or this community that they're in. I think, what would you say to yourself if you could go back and talk to yourself right now? What would you say to that Tash who's there doing it, and maybe having that feeling again, just hear about, hey, I don't know if I should be doing this, or
Um, you know, I would tell her, well, first of all, I would tell her, like, you did what you had to do to survive. So I really would remove shame from the equation. I would be, because my thing is, like, I always was like kind of one in the door, one in out. And I would just be like, look, girl, go all the way, own it. Don't have shame behind it. Just get through it, because it's not forever. I always knew in the back of my head that it wasn't going to be for forever. Save your money, invest, and learn a trade or a skill with that money and that free time that you have done yourself. Do not squander that free time on stupid material things like clothes, or maybe a few vacations that I might have not have taken. I would have told myself to make better use of the time that I acquired from that money. That's what I would have told myself. Um,
so you
Honestly.
can then get into different
Yes.
community, a different way to make money, etc. Like you said, some people are dealt a certain hand. You know, it's like some people are dealt certain hands in life, and yeah, to remove the shame and guilt, like you did what you had to do, you're doing the best you can, and when you realize it, okay, nothing's forever. Make a plan, get an out date, look at it, and then vamos, get after it.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
um, and that kind of didn't happen for you. You said you made a few little mistakes, and I think you started maybe using again, which led maybe to the gift of a relapse, which got you out of there. I don't know. Let me know what. So what? How did it? How did maybe a God shot appear in this story?
Um, well, the God shot appeared was when my dad got sick. Um, that's when the God shot appeared.
So the
Um,
dad that wasn't in your life
yeah,
reappears, and he's got sick.
yeah, the dad that wasn't in my life, he reappears, decides to move back to California, after not living in the United States for upwards of 20 years. He decides to move on back, and he moves into my apartment because I had I was doing good for myself. I had a two-bedroom in LA for a single girl to say she's got a two-bedroom. I mean, that's pretty good. Like, I want to say. So I had a two-bedroom, and my dad moved in. The plan was that he was going to help and like be the father that he wasn't. And he was going to use his social security money to help pay for a portion of the rent, and then whatever else money he was going to get, I was going to apply for nursing school, and he was going to live with me, and we were going to make up for lost time. And it was a beautiful, really nice, lovely plan. And 2 weeks after he moved in, we discovered he had brain cancer. I thought he was having a stroke, and it turned out that there was a tumor in his brain. So I went from, being this carefree, like, go with the flow, like, whatever. I don't even know, like, girl to a woman, a caretaker, a grandma, a daughter, a sister. I went through all the roles of a woman in all of a sudden, all at once. Um, and I became a caregiver, and I literally watched my father fall apart for the next year. Everything gave out. His legs, the feeding tube, the diaper changes, like, it's literally like you watch the regression of life. You watch them become an infant. You watch them become a toddler, backwards, and it's a lot messier and a lot sadder, unfortunately. And I just had to grow up really fast. I was uh, not. There was a lot of things I was not proud of my character during that time, because once again, I did the best I could. I really don't want to put a lot of shame on myself, but I was taking his pills. I was not sober. I couldn't deal with the situation 100% sober. I couldn't, especially with my mother, who, God bless her, but she hadn't been with the man for 20 years, and she was really mad. She was really mad that all of a sudden now she's the man that she divorced. She's got to help me take care of him, because she was helping him because of me. So I have this resentful mom and my dad, and it just forced me to grow up really fast. You don't want to I'm sorry, you do not want to post nude selfie sexy pics on OnlyFans when you have your father dying of brain cancer in the other room. The vibes were just done. Like, I could not. I think out of that whole time period, I managed like two Vegas strip trips, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I began receiving money from the government to take care of him, and it was just enough to cover the bills. But like, all the all of that, I was just squeezed out. Like, I was no longer that same person anymore. I just completely changed overnight, honestly. So that was I guess that was my God shot. It was a really kind of a cruel and sad one, but it was one nonetheless. And then, as you know, I because I kept up with the pole dancing, thank God, I had always at least kept that. That was the one like consistent thing in my life that I was able to remain and keep growing a skill on. I was hired by Red Door at a rehab to teach a specific client how to pole dance. And once I got hired at this job, I realized I can't have the clients finding my OnlyFans. I don't want my coworkers to find my OnlyFans, you know? It's not the it's not the environment. Like maybe if it had been a bit of a different job, but I was like, there's is a client, imagine a client finds my OnlyFans and I'm trying to give them meds or something, and they like the things that went through my head of the things that I felt like people could say to me, like, or not take me seriously, or all that, like all that shame, that internalized shame that I had and that society like puts on us. I was like, there's no way that I can maintain an OnlyFans and work for like a now more professional setting and take care of my father. Like they was just not happening. I was like that. I'm like, that's it. That's it. I'm like, your time's up. Time's up. No more. So yeah.
And so your dad's still alive at this point, Tash, or what happened with that?
No, a month after I started working at the rehab, my father passed, and I took a week off, and yeah, I think I deleted my OnlyFans maybe like 2 weeks after that, and we just this March, so it's 2024 now for everyone that's going to be watching this video 15 years from now. But yeah, March of 2024, uh, it was my dad's 1 year of him passing. So
Amazing. What a story. And it's like, it's that from darkness comes light. We always think, is this a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It's like, maybe, and the way you can look at things, it's always like, well, if it wasn't for this, it's like I had a stroke last year, and the way that changed my view and the way it's affected decisions that I'm making today. I said today I was talking to somebody that we know from work, and I was saying, if I hadn't have had that stroke, I don't think I'd be having a change of location and a change of priorities. So even though it was really difficult to go through, and maybe it's the same with your father, and to take the positives out of it, you get to go, well, wow, if it wasn't for that, would I have been as serious about my recovery? Would I have been as serious about making a change in my life? Would you mentioned that you wanted to be a nurse? What an experience. You got to nurse your father, and I know now you're something that you're doing is you're gonna be taking your remind me what it's called again.
So I actually just got back from doing like all the admission paperwork for to become an LVN. It's a licensed vocational nurse. So I will be spending the next 15 months. I will become a nurse. I want to be an RN eventually. But that will take a little bit more time. So now I'm going to be an LVN. So yeah.
Amazing. And like, so for instance, there, what a great memory to think of, like, you literally by the government got paid for your first ever client, which was your dad. You know, you
I
couldn't
know.
you couldn't make it up. So you look at these moments, and one thing I always think now is like, oh, this is not forever. This will end. So everything ends. Everything ends. Good, bad relationships, jobs. It all ends at some point. So it has to end. Okay, that was the end. Okay, good came from it. What, like it's like that's the just go, okay, like these things, like, you know, it's important, I think, to take the positives and to look at things with that kind of glass half full. It helps us as humans with this spiritual experience. I always think about the movie Life of Pi, when he tells the story, just how he wants to look at it, because it helps him get through whatever it is. So today, so we've got onto it. You've moved on. You've gone through all this stuff. You've had enough. You've had enough of being sick and tired and making those mistakes, and you've learned from them. You've matured because had the gift of desperation that's come through having to look at yourself in these extreme situations. And, your mum sounds like a gift as well, because, at times you probably had to look after your mum, and that's got you to get your shit together. Because if you didn't, what's going to happen to your mum? So inadvertently, she's helping you as well. Like, it's like, wow, because left to your own devices, like you said, out of Israel, I'm just thinking of this now. When you were left to your own devices, it was mayhem. So like, it's your mum's a little gift in the way. She keeps you busy, she keeps you busy, if nothing
Oh,
else.
well, she sure does. Yeah, I was actually saying this to someone the other day. Um, she shortly after my father passed, she moved out of the country and she left me a lot of things to do, a lot of things that any normal person, if they weren't family, would be getting paid to do, but I'm doing for free. And I have moments where I resent her for it. I am so upset. But then I look back at it and I'm like, I am getting so much freaking experience from this right now. I'm like, it's infinite wisdom. I was like, yes, it sucks. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's a drag to do all these things that she's asking me to do that I don't need to explain right now over the video, but just they're frustrating. Okay. There's things that she should be dealing with. But yet I'm dealing with them, and like I said, I'm gaining so much perspective and experience. And when I have a child and when I have a kid, I know what I'm going to do now, and I don't think a lot of people are able to get this kind of insight. So as frustrating as it is quite invaluable. So yeah, when you look at it like that, everything is positive, but it's still in the moment can be kind of draining. So
Yeah, wisdom. That's a good word.
yeah.
Wisdom. A lot of these things give you that wisdom. And so here we are. We're at this point now where you've got an amazing job. You've been at Red Door now for coming up to a couple of years, and you're working with clients one-on-one. You're teaching pole, which is amazing. I've seen a lot of people from the outside looking in might not get that, but it's really give people a lot of confidence, and it's helped people who don't traditionally like the gym, that they can work on other areas of strength, which is body weight, it's like is that calisthenics?
Calisthenics, yeah, it is
Yeah.
pretty much that's what it is, yeah.
So, and I've seen it firsthand, guys and girls, and they've benefited, their confidence, their personality. It's been amazing. And then you're also doing one-on-one companioning where, again, all these little life events, from being in the military to being one-on-one with maybe shady characters and interesting situations, to then looking and nursing after turning into Florence Nightingale for your dad. It's like all that can come together now to benefit these addicts that you're working with, especially on a one-on-one level. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that and how you're making a difference at the moment. What's a lot of people think sober companion, or how does that work? Um,
Yeah, actually, the number one question I get when I tell people I'm a sober companion is, how do you train for that? And the answer is all those things you just said. It's by leading the life that I led. There is really no, like, I mean, I know that people are trying to create like a guidebook, and of course there are rules, but it's kind of like a fly by the seat of your pants job. And a sober companion, at the end of the day, I think the best way is a sober companion helps to minimize risk. And because we work in a harm reduction type of facility, right? I mean, we still want the main goal is still abstinence, of course, but for those people that abstinence is just not a choice at the moment, because they just simply cannot control their addictions. I mean, it's a hard thing to control, as you and I both know personally. I help people transition either into rehab or transition out of rehab. The good thing about a sober companion is that they can come to anywhere you are, so it doesn't have to be in a rehab setting. It could be coming to your house, coming to your hotel, coming to the tent that you're staying in. I mean, sober companions are quite expensive, so I don't really see a lot of people in the homeless community that could afford such a thing. I'm just being straight up honest with you. But yeah, I mean, this is a type of job that requires you to just kind of just have a feeling, like a knack for it. Like you said, the experience from the military, the discipline from that, the working at a strip club. Like, I mean, the I wasn't hanging out with gentlemen in there, you know. There wasn't, it wasn't, those weren't those type of people, you know. And you see a lot of drugs, you see a lot of maybe weapon. I mean, it can get dangerous, honestly. I think that the things I was doing before sober companioning were 10 times more dangerous than actually being with a client now. So, and every client is different. It's case by case. I mean, we have some clients that are very cooperative and do want to get better. And then there's the other clients that they are just, you just want to make sure that they don't die. You're carrying Narcan. We're all CPR certified. We're Narcan certified. We did our RAD-T, which to the regular person who hears this will not know what that is, but it's like a moral and ethics test that we all have to take. It's like a 9-hour course. But you know, I'm as certified as I can get for this role, but really it's just life experience. Like, you probably wouldn't be able to do this job if you hadn't been an addict yourself. Let's be real. Unless you, or you had parents or somebody close in your life was an addict, so you were witness to that. Because yeah, watching someone dig around in their veins for 20 minutes can be kind of off-putting, and you can't tell them to stop. That's what they want to do. So like I said, you're just there to minimize risk. You're just there to make sure that they are safe and healthy, and eventually you're getting them into rehab. And whether that takes freaking 2 days or 2 months, that's what you're there to do. So it's been a wild ride. Definitely been a wild ride. That wasn't, you know, as you know, that wasn't the job that I first started off. I started as being a recovery partner, which is just kind of like another way of saying a technician. So I learned the ins and outs, and I realized that I felt like I made more of a difference working with clients one on one than I did out of like 25 of them at once. So yeah.
You know, it's funny, as soon as you started talking about being a companion and you were talking about how people, you know, how would they get qualified on this? I wrote down it's the feelings, and then you said it. It's the feeling. It's not, it's, you've been primed through your life, you've had experiences, and then you know how to deal when the body's central nervous system's going off, or you know, you on a neurological level, you've like, I've been here before. I know this energy. I know what's going on now. Where other people will be like, whoa, you're kind of like, oh, this is familiar. And you're able to function in what is unfamiliar for most people. I think that's the gift of an addict or who's been around that kind of dysfunctionality. You're able to deal with real dysfunctionality and function in that environment, if nothing else. And big brother or big sister somebody through it, like you said, that damage control. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're going to be an amazing nurse. You're going to be an amazing mother. I think like all these things that are coming to me that I see in your story, I think the best is yet to come. It's only, you know, you've been primed yourself for, you're a young woman. You've got so many years and so many more chapters to this story to tell. I just want to say I've always wanted to thank you for when I did have my stroke. There's never been a moment where I could thank you on any kind of like level, because you're never there at the Sunday dinners or I've been working, but you helped me out so much, and it was because of that blanket you brought me, you know, the electrical blanket in the hospital, and then I brought it home or whatever. Or it was such a lifesaver with the spasticity and me coming off all the opioids and things. um that was amazing. Like, honest to God, like the pain I was in until my back and bottom hit that pad. I will like, that was, honestly, I don't know what we should, every client coming off opioids should have one of those.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I got the center portable sauna, an infrared portable sauna for this reason. Yeah, I mean, heat's a healer. I'm very happy that I could have been there for you for that. I can definitely say that when that happened to you, I, not to make it about me, but like I went into like full like like that's what happened to my dad, you know what I mean? Especially since you had it with the brain and everything, and I was just like, I freaked out, you know, and I was like, anything I can do, anything I can do. Cause like with you, at least it was like you're going to get better. So there was hope. Thank God. You know, with my dad, it was like, it was an inevitable. So I'm really happy you're here and you're welcome. And I hope that that never happens to you again, that I never have to help you like that again, because that was
Yeah,
horrible.
me too. Um, And isn't it funny? Like it's amazing life, and here I am, a dad to a little girl who's in another country, who's probably, we're all human. She's probably dealing with certain dysfunctionalities and stuff. If you know, and I'm here making this decision now because of our relationship, because of these life events. I'm not going to be a dad who comes back in 20 years. I can't keep doing this. The one that's away, she's definitely not coming back to America. Okay, I need to make some changes. And for those that don't know, and it will be revealed on here because I'll be in different places, I'm going to be staying more in Brazil because I don't want to be that absent father. I don't want to be a postcard dad, and I don't want to be a dad that comes just for a week or two every 6 months. So it's amazing, this friendship of ours and this connection and God, and when you're doing the right thing. And we always speak about it, like the higher power, whatever it is, it digs action. It just digs people taking action. We're not perfect, but I think when we get that feeling and we follow that feeling here, that's my biggest takeaway from this. I didn't even know, this is new for me, touching this and talking about a feeling here, but that's the biggest thing I've got from this podcast today is like, oh yeah, this the language of the heart, the language of love, one of the best drug of them all, love, that for a child, for a person, for an animal.
It's your intuition, and you have to follow it. If there's that voice, if as soon as that voice starts talking, not the mean one, you know which one I'm talking about, the one that's like, you got to do this. Just if you don't follow it, you are doing yourself a disservice. So, like I said, that feeling you keep getting in your chest, I get it in my stomach, but same thing. If that's what you feel is right, then I mean, I don't regret any of the decisions that I've talked to you about today. I do not regret the military. I do not regret the sex work or the OnlyFans or the stripping or anything. I do not regret any of it. I don't. Like, I literally, as cliche as it sounds, I would not be where I was today at this job with the life experiences, and wouldn't be sharing my story with you because, it's like I'm like, we have like what, like a 10-year difference and stuff, but like, like you said, I had that absent father, and like look what happened. And my father was lucky enough that I'm a kind enough person. I could have been like, Dad, you're sick, fuck no, I'm not dealing with this. You never dealt with me, I'm not going to deal with you. I could have sent him packing, but like, okay, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here. I'm not that person. I'm not that person. And and if you feel like you want it, you need to be that dad to your, like, you're right. Like, go be the dad. Go be the dad. Because what are we gonna do when we're older? Like, who's gonna take care of you? Hopefully she will. So I know she will, but
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? This journey. When you were saying there about the voice, the my voice is all. I know that my voice, because it's usually like a whisper or a little like, hey, I think, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's you. It's not the one that's giving me grief about the shape of my face or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
hey, Jazz, it's me again.
yeah, yeah. You're like, oh, not now.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking to you today, Tash. We're going to put your stuff in the description, your Instagram, your website. This is where people can go and learn about pole dancing. You give one-on-one tuition online and in person if people are lucky enough to live in Los Angeles, California. Also, you're available, as we know, as a companion. I believe you also may have a Patreon, etc. I don't know how that works, but what I'm saying is if someone does, it's going to be in the description. We're going to have things like that down there. So yeah, if you want to connect with the baby Yaga, that's exactly how you can do it. Thank you so much for coming on Sinner to Winner.
Thank
I think
you.
we've probably helped a lot of people today. I know 100% your story will definitely help uh, people out there. And if anybody has any questions, if there's anyone working or feels like they had a Me Too moment, get in touch with Tash, ask her the questions, speak with her, get a bit of guidance. She's been there before. She's obviously got a hell of a lot of life experience and she can probably point you in the right direction.
Yes, I totally can. And if I can just add one thing to any sex workers out there that are looking to get into sex work or that are looking to get out of sex work, talk to somebody. You can talk to me or you can talk to somebody else that you know, but do not go into it blindly. You do not need to make the same mistakes that everybody else did. You don't need to put yourself through that pain. There will be trauma. It is not a job that comes without trauma. It just isn't. So before you step and dive right in, do your research. We have enough technology and enough resources out there that you can do your research. So there's no shame in it, but just like how we do with harm reduction, educate yourself. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
All right. Bye.